Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. Yes, this is the third one in your podcast feeds this week. We did a great show on Tuesday for our Creation Station Monthly. We had a bonus episode yesterday where we taught a class for how to do podcasting to the tweens. And now we have our regular show, 20 minutes, get you on your way, give you some fun stories. I've got 4 of them for you today, plus a bonus thing. If there's a story you'd like to see covered on the show, Creation Station at Broward.org comes right to me. You'll notice I do not have my guest on. We've had some problems getting them connected, so we're going to continue the show, and if they show up in a little while, we'll put them on. First off, yes, there's lots of cool space stories this week, as always, but wanted to cover 2 of them in particular. One, no, Starliner hasn't come home yet. It's interesting. The problem with Starliner, in case you haven't been following this story, it went up. It's been up there for a long time, much longer, 2 weeks longer than it was expected to be. And it's going to be there through probably the 4th of July. Might come back early. Don't know. The real reason is because when that capsule comes back, all of the outside of it's going to get burned off in the atmosphere. And so the checks they need to make now are 2 things. One, because they want to make sure they're going to be able to maneuver properly on their way back in, because they did have some problems with some of them. But 2, they need to do all of the investigation work now while it's up there attached to the space station so that they can make sure they know what went wrong, because there won't be any evidence when it gets back and it splashes down. That's number 1. Number 2, China came back from the moon, which is historic. So the United States has come back with samples from the moon. I hope you know this because Maine Library here in Fort Lauderdale has a moon rock. We're the only public library in the planet to have a moon rock there. So if you're in South Florida, make sure you come see it. Now China has their own moon rocks. And these are from the dark side of the moon, the far side of the moon. And what happens is, by the way, all the show notes are in there for you. Just as always, these links are there so you can see these. The trick to this is the first time China's come back with something. And this now makes 3. That makes the United States, Russia, the old USSR, and China to have come back with samples to test with. And in keeping with tradition, China has agreed that they're going to share these samples with the rest of the world, with the rest of the scientists and doing stuff like that. One of the tricks to this mission was to go find out what's down, particularly the south pole of the moon, because people believe there is sufficient ice and other minerals and chemicals there to be able to build habitats with. So if that is true, if what they brought back proves out the suppositions based on previous radar scans and other types of photographic exploration that they did, China's lander did earlier, then we'll know about landing and building a base there at the South Pole, which is China's plan anyway. They've already announced they want to be there by 2030. Some people think, wow, 2030 sounds like a long time off. 5.5, 6 years. They plan on being there. Yeah. We don't plan on being there that fast. The United States. So this is going to be something that everyone needs to compare. Everybody needs to root for each other, because getting these samples means we get more scientific knowledge, which means we get more the ability to do more things. And we find out also some of the things that are going on the South Pole at the far side of the moon, so that we know why it's different. Go read the article and see some of these pictures. It's pretty amazing. Our second story today is having a pet good for you? I can hear you say it already. Don't worry. Bob, of course. I love having my dog, my cat, my hamster, my fish. These are great things. I love having them around the house. Good. I'm glad you do. But why? And it turns out there are no good studies that show that it's a really good thing for you. There are no actual studies that show owning a pet is a good thing for you, except ones that have been commissioned by the pet industry for veterinarians and such to prove that your health is better because you have a pet. And this article here goes into some of the details about that. Overall, most people feel instinctively that they are better off because they have a pet. However, some people are physically actually worse off if you have asthma and you have to go walk in a hot summer sun, or to walk your dog. If you have allergies and you have animals in the house, if you have just the expense of animals versus not. So it is definitely something to think about. Think about the entire whole concept of why we have pets, what we have pets for, and doing. Remember, we covered on the show last year, there's a very big trend in Japan for robotic pets. They take care of, especially with elderly people, where they move, look, sound very much like a real animal, except most people don't keep seals at home, and seals are one of the ones that they like. But it also can take your heartbeat and things like that for you. So your regular dog, I hope, is cuddled up next to you. I follow many of my friends' animals, going around and doing things, seeing what goes on. I've got friends who do extensive fish farming stuff and raising all sorts of things. So yeah, you can do great things with a pet. And I hope if you do, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's a great thing for you. Just know it's because you think that. It's not because anybody can prove that. Which leads us to our other story. See, all the cute dog pictures and everything like that too for the story. Let's stop. The next story is all about that also, though. Of how do you prove something? How do you do something? Because can you prove you're a human? With all the chatbots that are out there now, with all of the interacting, with all of the ability to go back and forth with people and do things, and how good is that AI at actually talking and being like you, or like a person? So somebody put together the reverse Turing test. If you haven't heard of a Turing test is a contest, so to speak. It's hosted in England every year. And it is a test for, can a human interacting with a computer program tell that it's a computer program versus a real human? Name for a very famous computer scientist. And there's a movie about it too. You can go watch that and get some better information if you want. However, getting back to the point of this story, they tested it out with 4 AI models and 1 human, quizzing each other to see who could tell which one was. Now, the human knew they were the only human in the test. So it was pretty obvious. Okay, yeah, I know I'm not an AI. So the other 4 people participating in this test have to be AI models. However, the AI models were not told that who was a human and who was an AI. They had to figure it out from the responses that people put in, the different chatbots, into the test. How did you respond? What did you say? Why did you say it? They had a bit of fun with this test. They had one taking on the role of Aristotle, one taking on the role of Mozart, one taking on the role of Leonardo da Vinci, and one doing Cleopatra. And so those 4 were the AI chatbots. And then they had the human pretend to be Genghis Khan. So each of them would give in their information. They would talk about things and do things for what the response was to the question, and rate those responses. Did that come from a human or did that come from an AI? Obviously, the human was able to figure it out because the human understood there's one human in the pack. I know I'm human, so therefore the other 4 have to be AI. Pretty straightforward and easy for him to make that connection. However, the AI, as it was getting these inputs, did not find quickly which of the individual ones were AIs in different AI, but they were able to find out the human one right away. Because they said the human one did not give enough value in its answers. If you've seen output from ChatGPT, all the various different types out there, OpenAI's model, Anthropic's models, Microsoft's, everybody's got their own little versions. Each of these different types, gives you some kind of longer wordy answer, sometimes a word salad type of stuff going on. Most times it makes at least moderate sense. So the idea is that it found the human lacked clarity because its answers were shorter and more concise, which is exactly the opposite of what I think clarity means. I mean, when I'm thinking about this, yeah, if you get a clear, concise answer, that's the way to go, not the long, wordy, for lack of a better word, lawyerish type of answer where they just keep spewing out word after word after word. Because you don't need to clarify every single word about what every word means. We all kind of understand it in general conversation. But that's how it figured it out, that was a human going at it. Each of the other chatbots figured out that the human was because of how they phrase their answers like that. Yeah. Now, it's not that they trying to come up with the best phrase for you. I know I can almost hear people out there saying, yeah, but those are things, those chatbots, they lie all the time. And the answer to that is no, they do not lie. They can't lie. They're not smart enough to know the truth and then tell you the opposite. Hallucination's a decent word for it. Mistake is a good word for it because they're just creating a word and going word after word after word. They're not lying to you. They just don't know the facts. They don't know the truth. So when you get a chance to see the answers that they came up with here, they're not too bad. We'll find out more. Our final story today is about AI again, but not in the way you're thinking. So over the last week and a half or so, Meta, primarily through Instagram, but a little bit on Threads and Facebook, has been labeling photos as made by AI. And what that means is when the photo is posted, it just puts an extra little tag on the photo to let the viewer know, hey, this photo was made with AI, so that in theory, you know what a real photographer was and who just created this with AI on the computer instead. However, lots of real people taking photos with cameras and posting them up to Instagram are complaining that, wait a minute, that's not an AI image. I took that. But they altered the image using AI. Whether they removed a person from the background or whether they extended the scene in the back, trees, sand, waterfall, whatever, they extend what was around the person as they did it. Or maybe they changed the sky. The sky was just dark and gray and they wanted, or the sky was bright blue and they wanted it dark and gray. They made those small little modifications to the photo. If you're doing that, you're using an AI tool nowadays to do that. And we used to call them algorithms and the magic eraser inside of Adobe and things like that. Now we just flat out say, well, yeah, you're enhanced with AI. And so it's getting labeled like that. Now, there are people complaining, saying, wait, but it's just retouching the photo. This is just, I didn't create the photo with AI. I used AI to enhance it. So that means it's not made with AI. And my answer is, no, it is made with AI. You don't want to admit to it, but you used some tool to go in there and touch up the photo, change things or whatever on a very easy, to make it easy for you. You could have done that by hand. You can go in and edit. I remember the old ancient days of the late 90s where you had to go in and draw and edit pixel by pixel and go take the eraser and go take those things out and build your layer upon layer on things. Those days are gone because you've got your newer, better tools that make it easy and faster. It makes it easier and faster because you're using AI to do that. I'm okay with that. I don't know that there's very many photos that are pure raw photos out there anymore that you see that are not some sort of AI enhancement. If you've got an iPhone, an Android, whatever it is, and you're using that camera app and you click on the filter or you click on the various things, you're using AI. Does that mean your photo's invalid? No, not at all. Does it mean that you're not a good photographer? No, not at all. Photography is about a lot more than just color and post-production work. It's about framing. It's about figuring out what that right look is for your model for that landscape. I'm going on vacation over the next couple of weeks, and we intend on I hope we get to take some really good photos with an actual regular camera, not with the one on my phone. And those photos, hopefully I'll be able to share and people will be able to see the difference in between raw, unedited, this is what it looks like off the camera versus when you add filters or tweak the settings to change the dimness or whatever on a photo. And that's okay. I want to stress this. It is okay to say, yes, I used AI to change things on this photo, and it should be labeled that way for everyone. The big complaint about what I just said from professional photographers out there is then every photo will say edited with AI because we all edit. And again, I'm okay with that. You can edit your photos. You're supposed to edit your photos. Just admit to what you're doing, that you're using a tool and it's done. If you don't like the fact that it's making you look bad or feel bad because you have this image that you changed and it looks better because of the AI than what you did with your own human ability. Yeah. When I'm in my wood shop and I am working on things, I don't eyeball it and just say, well, that looks like a 90-degree angle. Nowadays we use laser angle cutters and measures and everything like that to make sure it's exactly perfect. That doesn't make it less of a carpentry work just because you've got advanced tools. So photographers out there, drop it. It'll be in the notes here. Drop us a comment about whether you think your stuff is made with AI, AI enhanced. What's the proper term that you should be using for that? I am off for the next couple of weeks, but the show goes on. We will be dropping our show on Wednesday next week because July 4th on Thursday is a national holiday here in the United States. So we will be doing it on Wednesday the 3rd and then going back to our regular Thursday shows afterwards. If there is, as always, a person or a library you'd like to see featured on the show, reach out. CreationStation@broward.org. And I'll see everybody in a couple of weeks. Have a great time.